Hey everybody, this is Andrew Alvarez and I am the Latino conservative. We have got a lot to talk about today, don't we? But first, in my Latino conservative mug, makes it taste even better. So first on the agenda, let's look at some state news. Got a couple things going on in the state of Texas right now. Namely, Governor Abbott. What a champ. So Governor Abbott last week basically gave a big up yours to Joe Biden. Governor Abbott signed an executive order directing all state agencies to prepare to challenge federal overreach. Now, what he's doing on this is basically opening up resources that the state has to file lawsuits in the Supreme Court for anything that Joe Biden does that threatens the state of Texas, that threatens the economy of the state of Texas, threatens the state of Texas's jobs. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says Texas will not sit by and allow the Joe Biden administration to destroy the jobs of the Lone Star State, and signed an executive order Thursday directing all state agencies to prepare to challenge any federal action that threatens Texas energy. Now, I'm going to talk about the overreach here just a little bit more in a bit. But Joe Biden has already signed over, 42? More than 3 dozen executive orders, which is more than the last, 15 presidents have signed. Abbott made the announcement Thursday saying the state was going to take steps to protect the oil and gas industry while also promising to veto any new Green Deal type of legislation should it be passed, while simultaneously proposing legislation to prevent the banning of natural gas appliances. Any of y'all ever dry your clothes? I'm sure most of you have. Probably about half of you that dry your clothes, or like in a laundromat even, dry your clothes if you don't have wash and dry at home, use gas to dry your clothes. Hot water heaters? Mostly gas. There's some electric ones out there. I understand that, but they're mostly gas. Stoves and ovens. Gas. That's right. Heaters. AC units. Gas. That's right. There's a lot of gas that happens. And not just the kind after you have a big burrito from Taco Bell. Not that kind of gas. I'm talking about natural gas to fuel our life, which is actually quite clean. The energy is clean, believe it or not. He also further states that his quoting is, "I'm in Midland to make clear that Texas is going to protect the oil and gas industry from any type of hostile attack launched from Washington, D.C. President Biden's embrace of the Green New Deal is a job killer in Texas. It also takes a wrecking ball to the energy independence that Texas has been able to provide to the United States of America, and Texas is not going to stand by it and watch the Biden administration kill jobs in Midland, in Odessa, or any other place across the region. We'll not go gently into that good night." Some people have questioned his handling of the coronavirus by shutting the state down, closing businesses, stuff like that. Making sure that, for the longest time, 6 months, almost, 9 months, you couldn't go to a gym. You couldn't go to a bar. Things that people do to relieve stress, gyms and bars. Being locked down in the house, having to wear a mask every day, that's stressful to people. So their 2 outlets were taken away by Governor Abbott. Now, with him taking this action against the Biden administration, I could see him gaining some approval points again. He sure did gain a few of my approval points, that's for sure. So along with what Texas is already doing, there's something else that happened. Texas House Bill 1359. Now, the likelihood of this bill actually passing is very slim, because a bill to pass in Texas has to go, it's kind of like going through the U.S. government system. It has to go through Texas Congress, through the Texas Senate, and then be signed by the governor. So basically like Congress, Senate, and then the president type gig. But this bill would put on the ballot in November whether or not the people want Texas to secede as its own country. Now, Texas is the only country in the union that can do that, but it was introduced and there is an actual likelihood that it could happen. What I would like for y'all to do, drop me a comment. Let me know what y'all think about this. If you're in Texas, let me know what you think about this. If you are in another state, drop me a comment on this. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Podcasts, put that in the reviews. Let me know what you think about that. That's huge news. It could mean that Texas is its own country again, because Texas is the only state in the union that was its own country and could become its own country again. We're the only state in the union that can have its flag as high as the United States flag. Texas is pretty much its own country anyway. We get money from the federal government, but we give tons of money to the federal government too. So it would basically be even each other out. We'd be able to sustain ourselves. We got the National Guard, which is our own army. And if for some reason they did away with that, something in the Constitution or some law made Texas give up its National Guard, we just build our own army again. We could do that. But it's a possibility, guys. The bill is out there. If we do that, I wouldn't be surprised if other states try to follow suit. That's a harsh reality. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but it could. It could very well happen. It could very well be the United States of Texas versus the United States of California. I don't know. It's just something that could happen. Will it happen? Probably not. But the opportunity is there now. So as of now, right now, Joe Biden has signed 42 executive actions. Everything ranging from blocking the Keystone Pipeline to providing funds for abortions across the ocean. Some of these have also called for the Federal Reserve to start printing money like crazy. In the last 3 months, and I know Joe Biden's only been president for a little over a week, maybe 2, but in the last 3 months, the Federal Reserve has printed out $3 trillion. 1 trillion, 2 trillion, 3 trillion. So let's look at a history of what they've printed out in the past years. And I'm just looking at this at federalreserve.gov. In 2019, just over 6 billion with a B, not a T. 2018, 7 billion. 2017, 7 billion. 2016, kind of 7.5 billion. 2015, 7 billion. 2014, 6 billion. 2013, about 6.5 billion. In 2012, over 8 billion. All of those numbers don't even match what's been printed out in the last 3 months. Now, again, I know Joe Biden hasn't been president for 3 months yet. However, he has had a huge influence in the last 3 months. November, elections. December, lame duck. January. 3 months worth of Joe Biden. Remember, again, elections happened in November. The lame duck month was December. And now we have January. More money has been printed out in the last 3 months under the guise of coronavirus stimulus packages, under the guise of sending aid to other countries, which, by the way, if we are trillions of dollars in debt to other countries, why aren't we sending money to them? We could very well just use that money that we print out, send it to the other countries, and thrive on our own economy and not rely on China. Because they are the ones that gave us the virus after all. It's the gift that keeps on giving from China. What that has done has effectively dropped the price of the dollar. Now, the dollar generally goes from around 101 to 95. Basically, it's worth like $1.01 to $1.05-ish. There's about a 10-cent range there. And that's a big range. That's a big, huge, significant range. Because imagine, over trillions of dollars, that 10 cents is billions of dollars. That 10 cents in the last 3 months has dropped. 3 months. Guys, 3 months. That range of 10 cents between 95 and $1.05 has happened over the span of President Trump's tenure. And it's been a steady increase during his tenure. Just, you see the trend mark going right there. And, I looked at that. FederalReserve.gov tells you all this information. You could also Google it. But come Joe Biden, all of this money printing has caused the dollar to go down to 90 cents. So, pardon me while I look away. Let's do a little math. Now, I don't think my calculator would go this high either, and that's what I'm doing. For those of you who can't see, I've got my phone out. What I'm doing, I'm doing my calculator. 0.9 times 1. So there's 1,000, a million. 0.9 times 100 million. That's as high as my calculator would go. That's 90 million. 90 million. 90 freaking million. So let's get that to the trillion. If we were to say, let's like the $3 trillion that we printed out in the last 3 months, that would be that $3 trillion, 3 times 0.9 is only worth $2.7 trillion, or $2.7 trillion. What happened to the other $3 billion? Now, I know in the scheme of billions and trillions, that may not seem like a lot, but still, what can we do as a country with $3 billion? Let's do some more math. There are roughly 330 million people living in this country. Okay, so there's 330 million people, and that would be, divide 3 billion into that, or so, divide 3 billion into $330 million. What's the math on that? I can't even do that math right now. Somebody do that math for me. But I'm going to guess, what, $10,000 each for each person? $10,000 for each person. And they wanted to give us a $600 stimulus check, which I didn't even get. Have some tea on that. So other things Joe Biden has done already with his executive orders. He withdraws $27.4 billion in spending cuts. President Trump did do make some executive actions, as each and every president should. There's certain policies that if they feel strongly enough about, that they should take executive actions. Now, they shouldn't rule by executive action. That's not how this country is designed. We left that. That's called a monarchy. We left that when we left Great Britain and the UK. But as a republic, we rely on our elected officials to make choices that represent the people. Joe Biden is taking that away. Biden said in a letter to Congress that he was reversing all 73 spending cuts that Trump had requested, which touched virtually every cabinet level agency, as well as federal programs such as the National Endowments of the Arts and Humanities. Under the 1974 Budget and Impoundment Control Act, the president can request that Congress rescind budget authority that it had previously approved. The cuts, known as rescissional, total $27.4 billion, according to a January 14th letter to Congress from the Trump White House. The proposed cuts had come after Trump grew frustrated with some of the spending included in December's spending bill. That's one thing that the president does. That's one of his big responsibilities, is basically approving the budget, making sure that the budget is right. Congress, they go through the bill with a fine-tooth comb. They put their propositions out there. And if you ever looked at the bill, it's ginormous. There are a lot of entities out there that request and require money from the government to operate. And, I'm not totally 100% opposed to that because I do believe we need some federally funded agencies out there. So Trump said, I will sign the omnibus and COVID package with a strong message that makes it clear to Congress that wasteful items needed to be removed. Now, he said that in a statement as he signed the bill into law in late December. I will send back to Congress a redlined version, item by item, accompanied by the formal rescission request to Congress, insisting that those funds be removed from the bill. Now, say what you want to say about Trump, but he's a businessman. You can claim that he had his bankruptcies, and okay, fine, he has. But success doesn't come in just a one-time venture that is successful. That hardly ever happens. Success comes from getting up one more time than he failed. And he's done that. And he learned each and one of those failures that he's learned from and grew his agency and grew his brand up to where it is right now. I think he knows a few things about business and about finances. He has to. The proposed cuts would also hit the legislative branch of the federal government, the District of Columbia, the Peace Corps, and the U.S. Agency for International Development, among other initiatives. $27.4 billion, and Joe Biden said, sorry, we are going to spend that money. We're not going to save it because we're not in debt, trillions of dollars. We're not. So we're going to take that money and use it how we want to for golden toilet seats. So let's talk a little bit more again about the Capitol riot. And this is a headline that I saw on Newsmax.com. It's a little rough for me, but not because of the headline. Some Capitol rioters didn't even vote in the 2020 elections. We found out how quick that they didn't vote. It happened a couple weeks ago. Now, one of the questions that I was asked about on Fox and Friends First was about illegal immigration, and I'm totally opposed to illegal immigration. But what I want is fast, legal immigration. I want them, specifically for Latinos, because that's where any type of illegal immigration legislation is targeted to. It's the Latinos coming over. I understand we need a border wall because it has a couple effects. One, it helps curb the illegal crossings. And two, it kind of helps funnel people, creates a bottlenose effect. Send people to one location or a couple locations of our choice so we can let them in if we want. I get that. If we can have the technology to find out who was at the Capitol riot, even if their face wasn't on anything, even if they weren't tagged in anything, but by the ping of this device right here, this device can tell me where I am. It can tell you where I am. It can listen to me and tell me what I'm talking about. Heck, I even think it's telling me it's figuring out what I'm even thinking about, because there's times whenever I get ads on stuff that I'm only thinking about and haven't said a word about it yet. This thing right here. Yeah, we get millions of people from our southern border coming in, waiting decades to get legalized. Some never. How's that fair? It's not. We can pinpoint people, put them on no-fly list, put them on terrorist watch list, get them fired because they were at a place that they didn't tag themselves in. They weren't in any photos, but we can tell by the technology that they were there. But we can't verify someone is who they say they are for 10 years or more. They have to constantly renew work visas. I mean, heck, even then, if they're good for a couple years and they're on a work visa, why not just make it a policy that they can stay? Rather than having money from working citizens go to undocumented people that we don't know how they're spending their money, what they did to get in that health condition, what they're going to do when they leave. Rather than have to go through all of that, why not just make it quicker and easier? I know the technology is there. I can get banned for saying something on this video if somebody doesn't like what I'm saying on this video. The technology is there. Don't tell me it's not. I know it's there. We just got to use it. Before we get into our next topic, I would like this time to take a moment and just mention Cash App. Now, I don't have any official sponsors, but Cash App does have an affiliate program, which I participate in. And you can too. It costs you absolutely nothing. But what Cash App is, it's a way to manage your money. You can help friends and families out if they have a little need. Or they can help you out too. Other things you can do with it is you get a debit card with it that is good where any place where Visa is accepted. And you get an actual checking account. That checking account comes with an account number and a routing number that you can use for your direct deposit. And it's free. Another thing you can do with Cash App, unlike any other bank account that you have, because that's quite literally what this is. It's a bank account. I can instantly buy and sell stocks. As long as I'm doing that within the market hours, I can buy and sell stock whenever I want. And GameStop, we all know what happened with GameStop. Their price went up to over $100. But if I didn't have $100 to spend on a GameStop share, guess what I can do? I can spend as little as $5, even $1 on that stock and watch it grow. All it takes is just $5 to get in the stock game with Cash App, and the stocks, however good you do, you get to keep the profit. I can sell stocks on Cash App, and I can even buy and sell Bitcoins on Cash App, totally free. What I've done is on my website, if you go to thelatinoconservative.com/Cash App, you'll see a link there where you can go and download the Cash App for free. Like I said earlier, you can also help people out. And to help keep this podcast running, if you go to thelatinoconservative.com/Cash App, and you already have Cash App and you'd like to help out, there's also a link there. My cash tag is $Latino Conservative. Real original, right? But if you want to send me a couple dollars, help me maintain this equipment, that'll be awesome too. All proceeds go to maintain my equipment, the website, and anything that I have left over goes to lupus.org. You see I'm wearing a purple shirt today. That is because lupus.org, their official ribbon color is purple. My sister had lupus for decades, fought it to the very last day of her life. So anything extra that comes from the Latino Conservatives funds is going to go to lupus.org. So our next story. Ilhan Omar calls for a tax on Wall Street stock trades. This is Congressman Ilhan Omar, the Democrat from Minnesota. She's already wanted to play the Democrat again on something that just happened and collect taxes on it. To do what? I mean, I can see if it's over $500, if you make over $500, because that's, then you have to report that to the IRS. I could also see that if you make a transaction larger than $9,000, because that also has to be reported to the IRS. I understand that. But should we force each and every transaction that we make to have a tax? Of course, this is coming from the same person that married her brother in the United States so she can become a citizen of the United States. She's not really a citizen. She wasn't before she ran for Congress. This is also the same person that has funneled more than $4 million to her private accounts and her quote-unquote husband's accounts, or law firms, I should say, via her campaign fund. I mean, that's against the law. I know if Republicans did that, or if Donald Trump did that, he would be crucified. We would be crucified. But since it's a Democrat, it's okay. But she wants to impose a tax on that. That's a little bit California-ish. California is the same state that's going to tax you even after you leave the state. They're going to tax you for 10 more years after that. But she wants it on each Wall Street trade. What about the little kid? The little kid whose mom purchased him some GameStop stocks. Would you charge him? He's a little kid, like 12 years old or something like that. I don't know the exact age, but he's young. Now, if you're gonna do that, you're gonna charge him tax, and he's not a constituent of anyone yet, so he doesn't have a voice. You're gonna have him pay a government that he has no say in. Is that fair? That's like taking payroll taxes out of anyone under 18. I think it's totally unfair. They have no say in what goes on in government, yet they're paying the government. They can't sign a legal binding contract because they're under 18. They're not an adult. But you can take their money. Is that fair? I don't think so. Hey guys, thanks again for letting me rant and rave at you. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you know when I come up with new episodes. If you're following me on Rumble, check this out on YouTube as well, or go to any major audio podcast out there, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, Anchor. You'll find this episode on there as well, so if you want to download it to keep it for future reference. If you want to be a voice, but you don't have the means to, and sometimes some people just can't. Their jobs won't allow them to. It's a sad fact, but it's a fact. If you want to be a voice, you can do so anonymously. Email me, andrew@thelatinoconservative.com. I read each and every email that comes to my inbox. Again, that's andrew@thelatinoconservative.com. Tell me your opinion, and I will put it out there anonymously if you would like, or I will talk about it. Either way, let me be your voice, because it's important that we are voices and not just echoing what we hear. My name is Andrew Alvarez, and I'm the Latino Conservative.